Yeah, I was waiting for that part of the lo-fi to end. Hello, everyone. This is your friend Carlz with another week of comic book talk, if you want to call it like that. I mean, this week I decided to just pick books that I wanted to not only do like a flashback or like a update, but a halfway review kind of comment on each of these current ongoing books. And of course, I gotta begin not necessarily with some news, but I want to comment on Super DC. It's still called the DCEU Extended Universe, or it's called the DCU now. Well, who knows? So we gotta talk about Supergirl's first trailer. Something strange has happened with the Supergirl sort of project from the beginning. It seems that neither James Gunn or no one related to the development of the movie has hidden the fact that it's like completely based into like that mini series by Tom King called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. It's something that I don't know, it occurred in a strange way because DC itself was sharing like photos of the trade paperback. They were promoting it. I think they release the whole TPB in the new, what do they call it? It's a new format that DC released of their trades, which are like what 20% smaller, maybe more. So they I don't know how they are called, but this is the new DC format for smaller, more portable trades of their books. So they have used the fact that the movie is completely based on Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic book by Tom King and Bilkis. I always forget her name, but she won an Eisner for her work on Helen of Windhorn, also with Tom King, right? She's an amazing artist, amazing. But here's the point. They have promoted that so much that when I saw the trailer, of course I loved how it looked. It made me think about something really strange. Two strange things. First, for those of you who don't know, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is told from the perspective of the girl that Supergirl rescues and has her whole adventure with. Supergirl basically doesn't talk on most of the book at all. So everything is told from the perspective of the girl she's adventuring with, and throughout, like, she telling a story. This is a very Tom King-ish thing, where the lettering and the speech and what do they call them when like the rectangle thingies, comic expert coming through, right? The narration is not the dialogue of the characters that does most of the storytelling. Is the narration, and Woman of Tomorrow is told in that way. It's like if the girl after the whole adventure was narrating her version of the story of what happened. So it's really impossible basically to wonder how they are going to adapt that style of storytelling. It's really contemplative and really introspective. So Woman of Tomorrow, you read that book and you don't see Supergirl like saying much, she just does, and that's part of the brilliance of the book. And is this girl saying like, oh, I saw Supergirl doing this and I saw her doing that, and this is my interpretation of what was going on through her head. But Supergirl doesn't defend or doesn't say or corroborate what the other character is saying about the story. It's a really unique way of telling it, where you have the actions of the main character and you have the reactions of a third character. So usually you use the vignettes to sort of let the character explain their inner thoughts, or maybe I don't know, like deepen whatever they're doing, explaining what they're doing, explaining how they're feeling or what they're doing. But in Woman of Tomorrow, it's not Supergirl doing the explaining, it's the other character doing so. So you get a really cool dynamic between what you are seeing in the page and what's being described by a character other than the protagonist. It's really interesting, and in the end it works so well because sometimes the girl will go like, and I saw in that moment what was true courage was, and it's like Supergirl piece of drunk like doing something. you know there's a contrast that represents so many levels and so many layers. This is an innocent child seeing someone that is not on her highest in the highest point of her life, like someone that is vulnerable in more than one way. Physical power, sometimes not as powerful as she might be. This is a really vulnerable character, yet this kid sees her as the shit, like she's so cool and she's everything. So you have the whole arc of the kid being surprised, being amazed, being disappointed, and to top all of it, this is a memory of the kid. So she also challenges her own memories. Did I see this right? Did I understood what she was doing? I don't want to spoil the book, because it's probably the best Supergirl story in like a decade. But that's sort of the point. There's a whole complexity that it's really attached to the format of the comic book. And I think it's a legitimate question to ask, how are they going to do that in the movie version? And remember I said there were two things. The other thing was they have given this Supergirl a character that it's unlike the one she has in the book. As I said, in Woman of Tomorrow, this is a super vulnerable Supergirl, no pun intended. Not only vulnerable, but like she clearly is going through shit. The whole being a drunk, it's part of the book, but how they introduce Supergirl in this context, I liked it. I mean, I've said it more than once that Supergirl to me is the jaded Superman, right? Like the punk, more like whatever, because she was a teenager when Krypton exploded, so she's inherently more cynical. And you can see that in the movie version they have tried to portray it. But the trailer, even though it looks great and I'm really excited for it, it made me think about that. How are they gonna adapt that feeling that is so attached to the comic book format into the big screen? I don't even remember when was the last time I saw a movie completely narrated. You know, when you have like a narrator telling the whole story and the characters in the movie don't even talk or whatever. I don't even remember the last time I saw a movie like that. And I don't think I would want them to just straight up adapt Woman of Tomorrow like frame by frame. That wouldn't be the point. Though, as I said at the beginning, it's really curious how they have framed the movie's publicity. They either just straight up used it to sell more of Woman of Tomorrow. Not that they need to. This is an incredible book. Like, if I could buy the deluxe edition, $100, whatever, I would do it. It's an awesome book. But the fact that DC has sort of attached the book and the adaptation, well, I'm even calling it an adaptation. It's not even like the movie is inspired by it. It might be just an adaptation. The fact that they are tied so tightly, it's just dangerous, because it gives you too many expectations. I think at least I know in my private life, I talked about it more than once, how having certain expectations about stuff can dramatically change how, like, your experience with it. Like, I was expecting this and I was expecting that. So it's a double-edged sword. It's like, this is based in a great comic book and you're like, wow, I have great expectations now. Then, so it was just a teaser and a teaser trailer. I don't even know anymore. Like, I in my mind, teasers were like 30-second stuff or like something like that. Now they have like teaser trailers and trailers. Who knows, man? This is just strange. But anyways, I'm still really excited for it, and now I have not only expectations but questions, and like I'm really intrigued on how they're gonna do it. So in one way or another, it's working. Supergirl. When is it out? I think it's the middle of next year, which is 2 weeks away. Fuck it. So it's gonna be here in a blink of an eye. But anyways, let's go into this week's books, which are not as much recommendations as they are more like review commentaries. This is review week. Let's go. So, Absolute Flash, I've talked a couple of times about. I've made no mystery or secret that I've been loving the Absolute Initiative, but Absolute Flash in the latest issues have grown on me in a way that I wasn't expecting it. And that way in particular, and that I noticed the other day, is that they haven't made like a big deal about the Speed Force. This is no small thing. Like, there's no Flash without the Speed Force. We know that. But it seems that at every twist and turn, they fucking just mash that shit on your face. And I didn't know how much I needed something to just not be about it. I've said it before, I'm not that much of a Flash fan, but I always thought that the character is so almost doomed into time travel and like the whereabouts of the Speed Force. And as they have done with another Absolute issues or Absolute titles in this initiative, they have not only compressed what made these characters great, but they have sort of reframed them in a different manner. What they did in Absolute Flash by Jeff Lemire, which is one, as I've said a million times, one of my favorite authors, they reframed it not as a hero story, but this is like Absolute Flash is like an X-Files episode. It's so strange. There's no like overwhelming Speed Force and like these are the bad guys, these are the good guys. No, everything happens so self-contained in this one moment of this experiment gone wrong, to the point that like we didn't even notice, and they made most of the bad guys good guys. The rogues gallery in Absolute Flash are these not loving but these dramatic almost characters. So Absolute Flash has grown so much to me, like having this not be the classic adventures through time or everything. It is so full of drama. It's almost like a telenovela, Absolute Flash. And ironically, it has happened so fast. This is a pun intended. It's about having this like adventure in a moment. Speaking of movies, it almost reads like a movie. Like this, just one adventure. Now, of course, this makes you wonder how is it gonna keep expanding. All of the other Absolute titles have built their ground to expand. Absolute Flash, for it to continue, it's gonna have to end the current story arc in such a cut-off way. Like you're gonna have a before and an after when this story arc of Absolute Flash finishes, because it feels that self-contained on its antagonist, on its story, on its whereabouts. But as I say, what I love the most about this Absolute initiative is how they mix things. And I love that in Absolute Flash they put aside the weight of the Speed Force, this natural DC universe, fundamental forces, no time travel, no hyper dimensions or whatever. Like, this is just one kid being haunted by a experiment gone wrong, and every player in this event is part of this dramatic event, that is building up to a conclusion. Everybody has some stakes into what's going on, and this is not looking for a long-term solution. This is leading to a conflict because nobody really knows what's going on. The bad guys are plotting, the good guys are just plainly surviving. There's little heroics, only mostly survival. So it has been a unique experience. And what I'm thankful the most about the Absolute series is that despite the fact that comic books keep using the term jumping point and such, like this is the perfect jumping point, soft reset or anything, the Absolute universe has been really like not a jumping point but a refresher of these franchises. If not by their own content, by the reflection they have on the main books. And Absolute Flash is like a primordial example of that. For someone who is not that much of a Flash fan, going into Absolute Flash and seeing what could it be, or seeing how could I enjoy it without that which makes me not enjoy the main book so much. You see my point? So the Absolute titles, I think they are all coming into like finishing their first story arcs, and I don't really want to know which one is gonna end or anything, but Absolute Flash issue 10, I don't know. And like, if you like Flash, those people that like Flash have liked Absolute Flash. People who like the Flash have liked have liked the Absolute Flash. I don't know, but I liked it. The fact that Jeff Lemire is behind it is a big part of it, I think. But anyways, that's my little review on Absolute Flash. Looking forward to what comes next. Look at that cover, beautiful. We see the Reverse Flash coming up. Of course we will. Next commentary, weekly commentary. We are in issue number 799 of the Avengers, and the whole Meridian slash Kang storyline is coming not to an end, but like to a big event type of happening, you want to say? I don't know. So my comment on the current run of Avengers is that for some reason I didn't see what they were trying to convey. So without spoiling too much, but you can see it in the cover, right? How they sort of mirror the Avengers to the Twilight Court. So the whole Impossible City and the current headquarters of the Avengers was supposed to be created to host this Twilight Court, which was like some bootleg Avengers created by Meridian. And my main issue with it, facing the upcoming issue 800, we already know that Bendis is coming back. He's doing the Avengers. He's bringing like classic lineup back and everything. So we have a context in which the Avengers, as the most important group in Marvel, hero group inside of the Marvel universe, right? It's already in such an unstable position. So I was expecting the lead up to 800 to be a little bit more epic, to be a little bit more impactful, And I think this Meridian story arc didn't do it justice, because its main weakness was the usage of the Twilight Court. The Twilight Court, they have McKay has been introducing this theme for like quite some time, and it's like I don't feel the weight of them. I don't feel them as a mirror to the Avengers. And I don't want to sound mean, but they just don't. So that's why they not renamed, but sort of like reframed each member of the Avengers. For example, Iron Man was the engineer, so he could have like a mirror on the Twilight Court, an engineer type, an icon type, a king type. They did that play, but it didn't really hit. And to me, they made the critical mistake of thinking that just making a new character sort of be the opposed to Iron Man or Captain Marvel or Storm to have a similar impact to those characters. It makes no sense, because we don't give a shit about these Twilight Core people. We do give a shit about Scarlet Witch, not in Rivals, Captain America, Vision, Black Panther. We do give a shit about these characters. So my sort of review commentary of the current run of Avengers have been that it tries at times to be impactful, it tries to be epic, but to me it just didn't hit, because the characters, the opposing character, aren't just that interesting. They aren't that interesting, and they have diluted the whole story arc in general. It seems like you read it and you keep sort of expecting it to be epic or to be important, and it just isn't. It doesn't feel that impactful. So if you add to that the context of all we know about the future of the Avengers, the change of direction, the change of author, if we add all of that, it makes for a really lukewarm, however you want to call it, story arc for the Avengers. There hasn't really been something epic, or there hasn't really been a chance for these characters to do something like important, like they are part of the Avengers, they are part of the big group. Let them have a shining moment in the spotlight. Probably the only character that has had that during the current run of the Avengers was Captain America. I'm not gonna spoil it, but he had the chance to be, I can say anything without spoiler, but let's say he had a chance, like Faramir, he had a chance to show his quality, and he did. And it was fun, and it was action-packed, it had emotion, it was great. But this is such a big group of characters that it's like, nah. So that's sort of like my sort of short review commentary of the Avengers. 800 is coming up, so at the very least you can be thankful that it's going to go into another direction, and we're gonna have some different stories. But this one, the Twilight Court, this whole leading to 800, has been mid at best. But anyways, this week is issue 33 or Legacy 799. Only one to go. Next. Speaking of, Black Panther is going back to the space in Black Panther Intergalactic. Here's one thing that happened to me. When the whole Wakanda Intergalactic, the expansion, like something really strange happened to me. When that book was going on, I thought it was kind of like an Elseworld type of thing. I honestly did. I thought it was like I don't know. I guess I got distracted and reading so much shit, and like whenever like, oh, okay, this is an adventure of a Wakanda. What if Wakanda happened in space and everything? What that meant was that it was kind of like dissociated from main Marvel things, either on Earth or on Mars at best. It didn't really feel like what was happening the intergalactic Wakanda had much meaning on the regular Wakanda. It was built that way. They were supposed to be different stories, but they were interconnected somehow. The point is that I didn't really feel like the epicness of it. And in Imperial, like the half-assed by now, I'm even trash talking it right now, but in Imperial, the latest space-oriented event in Marvel, you try to get reminded of the intergalactic empire of Wakanda is like a big deal. And if you think about it, it is a fucking big deal. It's a whole intergalactic empire of Wakanda. And that on itself, it's kind of like strange. Like, this is a big deal. Meanwhile, what is Black Panther doing on Earth, like being a vigilante? I don't know. I don't want to say it was mismanaged, but I don't think they have really put forward the impact and importance of the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. Hell, they could come and conquer Earth for all I know. You know? It's no small thing. They are that big. So now Black Panther is going back into space in Black Panther Intergalactic, or like dealing with something related to the Intergalactic Empire, and I don't really know how to feel about it. I'm not the biggest Black Panther fan, but I always liked Black Panther as this king that is like he feels like out of all of the Marvel characters, he feels like of heroes, he feels the closest to Doctor Doom. I think that T'Challa is that, like, you know, we say down here in Chile, like you hit your chest like with a stone. It's like, no, like the weight of my responsibilities. This is so rough. It's so hard being me. I always found that that is the most important and interesting trait of his character, of a person who is almost haunted by the weight of being a king. So he has this arrogant and almost sanctimonious, that's the pronunciation of that word, right? He's an annoying, arrogant character because has the weight of being a king, and he takes that too damn serious, you know. But they don't always show that when he's as part of the Avengers or something bigger. And his latest solo book wasn't really that much into it. So my sort of comment review, I can do that much for a number one, but I needed to mention it because I hope they bring back the Intergalactic Empire in a way that makes us feel it more integrated to the main lore of Black Panther and whatever is happening to Earth, so we can see the real scope and dimensions of what this means. Not just like a side story, but like a really strong, important story, not only for Black Panther, but for the Marvel Universe in general. Black Panther Intergalactic, number one. Next. So Wes Craig's, I haven't commented about Kaya before. Of course, I've mentioned all the times I cried with Deadly Class, and he was the artist for it. In Kaya, which is he's the author and artist. Now on issue 32, I don't want to hate, and I've been loving most of Kaya, but lately I really felt detached to it. This issue 32 is supposed to be a story from the future, and personally I think Kaya has tried too hard to world build and like make action at the same time. So make like a fast book that wants to be slow at the same time. I have so much mixed feelings about it. Of course, I love his art, I still do. And at its core, I remember when it began, it was this sister protecting his brother from like the evil robots. They were having adventures, and slowly it was building up to the lore of who his brother was and what was the origin of his powers. But now they're jumping into future stories. The latest characters they have added and the latest lore on the quote unquote magic has been awfully confusing. Like for a book that it's not weekly, right? Kaya I think is bi-monthly, maybe, but it's just getting too convoluted. I don't like taking this chance to. I'm not talking trash because I love it, but I just get confused, and like that is not how it's supposed to work. You know my point. Like something that started simple, it's okay for it to become complex. It's okay for it to become more. I don't know, to have more things to it, to expand, to become big. But for some reason, I keep feeling so confused with Kaya. It's like, oh, there's a new character. What is his deal? Like, what are we aiming for? What is the main objective? You keep jumping forward, you keep jumping back, you keep adding new characters, and maybe I'm stupid. Well, I am. But just missing the objective, missing its core. This is a book that is funny because since it's just one guy, Wes, doing the art and the story, there's no constraints. Of course, probably has an editor as all these comics do, but it has no constraints and it seems to just go wherever it feels like going. And I hate to say that it loses me sometimes. It loses me. Like this character, who was he? You know. But look at that cover art. It's amazing. Now you wanna know why Kaya's cybernetic arm looks like wood. So it works. But man, I gotta say, I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling of being confused when you pick up a book that you've been following, and of course, it comes twice a month or once a month, and you are sort of lost. And even though it has a little summary on it, which not every Image book does, it has a little summary, you still feel lost because maybe if you add you being stupid to the fact that the story is getting too big and like the narrative is getting perhaps non-linear, feeling confused is not cool. But anyways, it's still an interesting book, and as it says up there, it's fantasy and adventure, so it's still fun. But I needed to comment as we reached issue 32 and like we're doing a story about the future. I had to comment on it. So that's Kaya, issue 32 by Image Comics. Next. Remember when this book was announced and I was so excited for it? Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum from the team behind Ice Cream Man. I was so excited because part of me thought, in kind of like an innocent way of I see now, that it was going to be way more edgy than I thought it would be. So this is the final issue. It was on DC Black Label. I thought it was going to be so much more edgier than it ended up being. I don't want to spoil it, but they just used this whole idea of the Kryptonite spectrum to put Superman in different situations that are like unlikely or like not common for him. they created all of these kryptonite colors, and they came up with this fun idea that different kryptonites, we already know that different kryptonites do different things to Superman, but they invented like the craziest kryptonites with like such weird effects. But they took too much time in some of them over the others, and none of them reached that kind of like really controversial level. I guess that is my main issue with this now ending Superman short story. Yeah, like it's coming to an end, and it wasn't what I was expecting it. And they sort of like deceive you a little bit, right? By like the fact that they made so much of a point of them being the team behind Ice Cream Man. It might have been just a publicity stunt, because all of us that know Ice Cream Man, we know what it's about. We know how it's basically a horror book, right? We know how extreme can it get. We know how like explicit it can get. We know how it challenges the limits. So if they told you that on the first moment, which worked because I talked about this book when it was announced, well, I guess I fell for it. And I'm not saying this is a bad book at all. It's interesting, it's fun, but it just feels like a quirky Superman story, like when he goes to the fifth dimension or whatever. Just feel like a quirky, like Superman story. Because the colors of Kryptonite they used, like the effects they had on Superman, these are not things that are gonna be easily added into like the main Superman books. They were just so quirky and weird that I don't see them having place like as a common stand, or like a common, what was that word, common, or something that would happen commonly during in the main Superman books. Like it just doesn't feel like it. It just feel like a funny, quirky story that I hoped and I wished that it was a little bit more edgy, and it would probably take Superman to like higher levels. And with higher levels, I mean that, and I said it before, Superman is this value, strong, oriented character. And I said it before as well. The best Superman stories for me are the ones that challenge those values, but in a smart way. You know, it's not like, oh, you are all about truth, right? So I'm gonna force you to lie. Ha 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 ha! Evil Green. No, it's about the subtlety of well-crafted context with nuances, where he has to apply his unbreakable, almost black and white values. He's forced to adapt to those nuances because the world is nuanced, right? So in the end, the Kryptonite Spectrum just reads like a quirky Superman story. Fun, quirky, but yeah. Impactful? Not really. Who am I to criticize these people? I'm just some Paul guy, so I'm a nobody. But I think I'm on my right to express my disappointment. Is kind of like a strong word, right? Like it just wasn't what I expected. Okay, it just wasn't what I expected it to be, by the names they showed, by the black label tag, by the concept of it. It's gonna have crazy ass kryptonites. They end up spending way too much time in a couple of them, just being playful and not really impactful. That's kind of the thing. But anyways, issue 5 is coming out. I would totally recommend a curious Superman onlooker to take a look at the Kryptonite Spectrum. In the end, I think it overall was fun. If I didn't get like the impactful challenge that I was expecting, at least I had fun. So Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum finishing on book 5 this week by DC Black Label. Next, Another common name that you might hear from me all the time is Rick Remender. Um, I think I mentioned the Sacrificers before, but it's this one of the most strange books he's released. I remember after Seven to Eternity. Seven to Eternity was this kind of like Wizard of Oz, almost like adventure through fantasy land. Of course, it had more violence and it had like a dark element to it. But as I've said before, one of my favorite things about Rick Remender is that for some reason he always keeps coming back to these tragic family dynamics. You know, Deadly Class, Black Science, um, Seven to Eternity. Like, there's always a family element, and such was the same in Sacrificers. But the point I want to make with Sacrificers, and the thing that I want to sort of review right now, is the fact that Sacrificers got a bit confusing. Not in the subject matter, but in its lore. You know, something similar happened with another book, man. The name just flew off my head, but it has like a structure, right? Like an architecture of the fantasy world itself inside, how things work, why they are doing what they are doing, and Sacrificers for the first time in many. Oh, it was that book about religion that he did, right? Like with the two little kids. Oh man, I forgot its name, but fuck it. Here's the thing: even Seven to Eternity got really complex at some point. It got really out there, you can say it in a way, but it was still, you could feel the betrayals, you could feel the family dynamics, you can feel the drama. It was all there, and it felt like, again, like a telenovela. It was great, but I feel like Sacrificers sort of lost me. It lost me at some point of its world building and the hierarchy of its characters. It really did lost me, and it's strange because you are clearly reading a story about like kind of like a power struggle and the challenge to authority, you know, to a system. Of course, they made the main character a pigeon to make him more vulnerable and like disposable. All of the classic Rick Remender's elements are there, like the family, the drama, the sacrifice, no pun intended. But it was the world building that confused me. The story of the king, of the and the daughter, and the powers that be. You know, the issue that triggered me was the one with the whole. Was it an armor or a weapon that make you like extra powerful? That issue completely confused me because I was thinking that the whole sacrifice sort of ritual was for something else. You have to read the book to understand it. And I really wish more people do read the book so they can see my point, and probably someone smarter than me can come and explain to me all the things that confuse me. But in a similar way to what I was mentioning about Kaya, Sacrificers had a similar effect and just had me confused by the lore of the world building in itself. And even though I still enjoy the drama and sort of like the main emotional conflict of the book, the lore just has me confused. Again, I'm just a bald guy. I'm not nobody to criticize these great artists who I admire a lot. But like, couldn't you have explained this in a little bit more like in a simpler way? Like, make it easier to see, like, okay, this character is this and this character is doing that because of that. I see the main ones. I see their main struggles. That's simple enough. But when when the world building sort of clashes with the character building and it's hard to understand, I don't know, it just made me feel dumb, which I am, but I don't want to feel dumber, you know? Plus, when you get distracted by these frustrating elements that you cannot understand or you cannot fully grasp, they diminish the impact of the drama that you do understand. It's like, oh, the son is coming back to his father, and his father is rejecting him for quote unquote betraying the ritual, right? And you can see the family dynamic and the drama, and you're like, man, this is so sad. But immediately you get bombarded by questions of the rest of the world building and what does it mean, and you get like, what did it mean? like like why was it even? You see my point? Still, it's a Rick Remender joint. The art is amazing. It's furry friendly. But man, way to be frustrating at some points. But anyways, I still recommend it. The Sacrificers Image Comics. And last but not least, I did mention it once before. Christopher Priest's latest attempt at making another one of these Dynamite books. He has had his way with Vampirella, and I also mentioned it before. I'm lukewarm to it. I don't. Speaking of something that jumps from one point to another, Vampirella just got so convoluted and so confusing and so big that I don't know what the fuck is going on. But his chance at making a Red Sonja book in Sonja Reborn. What do I have to say about this book? I mentioned that I wanted to see a Red Sonja book that was more interesting in a way that it wasn't just this barbaric. Yeah, like he's not just a female Conan soldier of adventure. Like he goes to one tribe and there's this bad guy and she just fights her way through and kills everyone because she's the Red Devil Sonja, and that's it. I probably even mentioned how the first kind of like volume that I got into for Red Sonja years ago was the one where she came to the present and she had like an interaction with guys in the present, and that story on itself, it was trope heavy as well. With trope heavy, if I tell you this is a story about a character from the past that comes to the future, you can already imagine what happens. Like, oh, I don't know how a TV works, blah blah blah. So in Sonja Reborn, they did like the opposite in a way. So you have someone from the future being inserted into the is it Hyperion, but the age of Sonja and Conan, of barbarians. So you have someone from the future coming into the past and inhabiting Sonja's body, and she gets like, oh, I'm so challenged by all of this. She thinks it's a dream and whatnot. Okay, that's fair enough. It's what I asked, isn't it? Like a different type of Sonja story that is not just her having a barbarian, like the movie, just her having a barbarian adventure, chopping people's head off. No, it has some sci-fi into it, in like some, I don't know if challenging is the word, but like a different context that is like, okay, what would it mean for a person from the future to come and live in the barbarian age? And that's all good and dandy, but my main criticism for the book is that it has been kind of like slow. It's like in every issue it's like the same, like the lady that came from the future, I forgot her name. It's like, this is a dream, this is a dream, this is not happening, this is a dream, this is not happening. And then she just keep going through the story, and like the bad guys steal her phone, and they go like, oh, look at this crazy evil machine. I guess my main criticism of it all is like, give me the nitty gritty. I feel like we weren't introduced to like a main antagonist right away. Like, we don't have a north, we don't have a really explicit endpoint or like a direction for it. So it feels like really episodic, like, okay, this is another week, like a sitcom, kind of like in this week's adventures of person from the future in the past. And it might be unfair saying that I like the opposite thing, when the Sonja from the past went for the future, that I like that more than the opposite of someone from the future coming into the past. But it does feel like the same. It's funny how two ideas that are so alike but just on the opposite side, they feel so fucking similar. So I guess, in a way, the real challenge is, how do you make something with this character that feels legitimately fresh? I think the last Red Sonja story that I really enjoyed was that one where she kind of like adopted a kid, and she became like, quote unquote, like a type of mother. They challenge like patterns of motherhood with her, because it's such an odd character to be a traditional mother figure. So they challenged that, and it was really entertaining, and sort of pushed the character to sort of limits. But anyways, I don't think it's worth talking that much about Red Sonja. I don't think she's such a big of a character, is she? They even had a movie, right? Like recently, I don't know if it's out or it's gonna be out, but there's an upcoming Red Sonja movie, I think. And it's probably gonna be like, Conan the Barbarian again. I don't know. The conclusion is, or like the final point is that this is a character and a franchise that for some reason I keep coming back to. And I don't know. I'm not like a big fan, nor do I love the character unconditionally. But now it's like planted on my brain, that desire, that kind of like hope that someone more creative and someone more intelligent than me creates a story for this character and for this type of character that really blows my mind. I guess that's why I keep coming back to it. And Reborn is not even over yet, so this is like a mid. I don't even know how long this book is gonna be, but this is like an issue 4 kind of commentary, so it's not like a final commentary. But it's definitely like an eyebrow raising, like we're like on the edge of losing my attention. Where are we going with this? But fuck it, it's just Red Sonja, and I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just Red Sonja. That's my review week. I didn't see much new things to recommend, or like I didn't feel like recommending, and that's why this episode went a little bit bigger. So be free to skip the timestamp and just browse what's interesting to you. I just felt like it was an appropriate time to do like a little review on these books that I follow. Most of them I like, some of them have like different vibes and different feelings to it, like Red Sonja. Some of them are in like stages where I'm really doubtful about them, like Kaya. But ultimately, I like all of them, the ones that I've commented on. Ultimately, I like them. And ultimately, they are all good. They are not like all excellent to me, like Absolute Flash, right? Or like Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Batman. Those books, the books of the year. Should I do a book of the year type of thing? Oh, I might do that. But I don't promise anything because I don't ask me what I read on January, okay? Don't ask me what I read on January. Don't ask me what I did on January. Don't ask me what happened in January. I don't know. I don't know what happened in September, so bear with me. But anyways, 2 weeks till 2026. See you then. No, wait. I think they don't release that many books the last or the next to last week, but we'll see. Either way, thank you for listening. Keep on reading, and may the force be with you. There's one before Christmas. Yes, there's one before Christmas. I don't think they release books on Christmas, but we'll see. If they do, I'll be there to read them. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and see you next time.